And I think one of the most important things that I learned about forming an advisory board was the fact don't find a member that they all do manufacturing. If you want manufacturing, find one. If you want someone in accounting, find one. If you want someone in public relations, marketing, find one. If you want someone in e-commerce, find one. And so try to find a board, an advisory board membership that has different talents and skills and want to be on your advisory board.
In entrepreneurship, a lot of things don't go the way you want the first time according to plan. We're here having tech issues behind the scenes, but rest assured, we've got a rock star heading your way. Ron's got 50 years of transformative experience in his industry, and he'll teach you how to do the same in yours. He's in the beverage industry, leading renowned companies like Republic of Tea, River Road Family, Vineyards, and Winery. He's passionate about empowering entrepreneurs and business leaders to achieve their dreams. He's now expanding his business in new ways, got a cool book we're going to check out, but he is the founder. He's been a chair. He's been everything, working his way up from just where you are right now, starting to put together your business. We're going to teach you how to do that right here on That Entrepreneur Show. Ron Rubin, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you being here. We're going to talk about Gold in Your Backyard, his new book where he talks about more lessons and life, leadership, and his career. So we're going to get a preview to that today. But Ron, you've done many things across the industry, from wine industry leader by Wine Business Monthly, among many awards. Did you always want to be in the wine field, be in the beverage space, or what led you to become an entrepreneur in this space?
Well, family had a wholesale wine and liquor business in Southern Illinois, and I knew that my dad wanted me to follow him in the family business, the next generation. And I grew up in that business, so I knew that from college I was going to go straight into our wholesale wine, liquor, and beer business in Southern Illinois. And in between my junior and senior year in college, a friend of my dad said, if Ron is coming into the family business, he ought to study wine. And there's a school out in California, University of California at Davis. They teach viticulture and enology. And so he said, you should check it out. So in between my junior and senior year that summer, I checked out Davis. And I came home and my parents asked me, well, what'd you think of it? I said, I enrolled in the school, I signed up for classes, and I'm driving to California. So my last year, 1971 and 72, I spent studying viticulture and enology, the science of the vine and the science of grape growing. And I came back to start with my dad in the family business. And he didn't have a lot of knowledge about the wine business. He says, you run the wine business. And you learned about it. You run it. And so that was kind of my entrepreneurial journey to start in our family business, growing our wine business in that business. And I loved wines. I fell in love. And out in Davis in 1971, I always dreamed someday of having a vineyard and winery. And that was my dream forever. And in 2011, I bought a vineyard and winery in Sonoma, California. So it took me, if you do the math, it took me 40 years to make that dream come true.
I love how you're highlighting so much and also following your passion. Everyone, if you're not passionate about what you're doing in entrepreneurship, it will be very hard to sustain. There are more downs than ups. As you get more seasoned, the ups become bigger, but the downs also become bigger as well. So you're highlighting to not give up. 40 years, and I'm putting that here in the show notes, 40 years to make this dream come true. It's a testament to some things don't happen on our timeline, like entrepreneurship, the way we want. I started the episode talking about some tech problems we're having behind the scenes. We just want this show on the road, but it's not going to get started there. Walk us through, after you bought the vineyard, what were some of the challenging parts of being an entrepreneur now on your own at this scale?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges was that they only had one customer. And do you put your eggs, in a basket with one customer? And of course, during due diligence, which everyone should do, and finding out, I went out and met that customer. And I asked him, will you stay with me as a new owner of this vineyard winery? And of course, he said he would under one condition: if you don't raise your wine prices to me. And I said, well, I won't raise the prices for 3 years, but let me get my feet wet. And so we started with this one customer. They had 76 locations, Total Wine and More. Today, they have 288 locations. And so we've been able to grow organically. And what I would say, don't be afraid if you only have one customer, but you can grow with the customer that you already have instead of going out and trying to search and find a lot more customers. So that was the challenge, to really partner with this new customer, to put the team together, to become sustainable, the vineyard and the winery. And those were some of the early challenges that we had.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that. Everyone, your business will grow uniquely to you, but organic growth is the best. I mean, sales outreach, I promise it doesn't get easier when you have clients. You have a little more confidence in your sales process, but selling to strangers is always a cold challenge, but you have to do it. So if you can find a way to grow organically, you're saving yourself not just a lot of time, but effort, money, everything in between.
Tell you that I did have that experience at the Republic of Tea.
Let's talk about that.
When we started with Whole Foods, there were about maybe 10 locations, and we grew to 450 with Whole Foods. The same thing with a bread company in St. Louis. It was called the St. Louis Bread Company. It got bought out, changed the name to Panera Bread, and we ended up with 2,000 locations across.
Wow.
So I felt comfortable learning from that experience to grow with the customers that you have and partner with them as close as you can.
I love that, partnering with the big brands here, and more show notes. We're already going wild and we're just getting started. I try to just put, after the bio and everything, a few other things that we talk about, a few highlight areas, because I would like to ask, now that you went through this experience, you purchased this vineyard, it's been thriving, growing organically. What advice would you have to someone who's interested in purchasing a vineyard? Be something you wish you knew.
Well, what I wish I knew, it was a difficult business. There's 4,000 wineries in California. I have 11,000 wineries across the country, and it's very hard to get distribution. And so that's really the key. Distribution is the key, and the number of wineries. So you really had to kind of separate yourself. And the one way that we've done, and I would highly recommend any business to look at becoming a certified B corporation. We're really proud of the fact that we're a certified B corporation. There's 4,000 wineries in California, and there's only 7 of us that are certified B corporations. We put that logo on our bottles of wine to stand out, but also to let the customer know what our values are. It was difficult to get certified. We got certified in 2022. Every 3 years, you have to get recertified. We just got recertified in 2025. And so I think that you have to figure out a way how you can stand out from the crowd. And that's what I would say.
I love how you brought that up, and congratulations on achieving the status consistently. What is B? We hear S Corps, right? We hear C Corps, but we hear B. What is that B, Ron?
B is benefits for all. It's basically using business as a source of good. It's also being scored and judged on how you represent your customers. How do you take care of your employees? How do you take care of the environment? And how's your governance? And so there's a number of pillars, we call them, that you have to achieve and become a certified B corporation. But it's all about using business as a force for good.
I love that. We should hope that most businesses do that, but it's not the case. I know it's a very prestigious designation to have. So again, congratulations on doing that and setting the example for others that, hey, this is a good idea to start pursuing. So thank you for that. But we're just getting started here.
And I would say, if you need any help, let me know. I'll be more than happy to help you, guide you down the path.
I love that. So everyone, you better stick around to the end of the show, find out how to get in touch with Ron. But for now, we're talking about this brand new book, Gold in Your Backyard, came out at the end of June. What led you to become a published author? Was this something on the bucket list ever since you were a young kid? Or let's walk through the process with our audience.
Well, the process was it started in 1972. Each year I would write something down in a journal that, stood out for that particular year. And in 2022, I was up to 50 lessons. So I had 50 lessons. And Gold in Your Backyard is talking about that you don't have to search all over the world. It's right there if you dig deep enough. And right there in Napa was a publisher that I met. And I had read part of his books that he wrote a book for Robert Mondavi. And he came to the winery one day and we were just talking. And I told him, I have these 50 lessons. And I'd love to think about writing a book. And we started on this path together. He was my mentor. That's the number one thing I tell you in my book, find a mentor. He held my hand for 938 days, and then the book came out. And so it's my 50 lessons in life, leadership, and the power of a dream. And so I just wanted to put it down on paper. I had it already on paper, but I wanted to share it with others. And also, number one was finding a mentor. And I was fortunate enough, my dad was my mentor, and I had others. And I dedicated my book to my dad. So I wanted to do something special for my father, who's passed away, but I wanted to do something for my dad.
I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sure this would make a legacy proud. Now, for our aspiring writers just like you, they've had this book in the back of their mind. They've been waiting to do it. What's one piece of advice that now that you're done with the process, you've learned that you did not know when you did start?
What did I learn? I learned about the sizes of the book, make a big difference. I learned about how to present the book, make a big difference. We wanted to make a beautiful book. We did some things differently in the book. I learned about font. I learned about most of the books are printed in China, a number of things that I learned. But, I think you need to find a mentor, somebody that can help you if you've never written a book before.
I love it. Well, one thing in this book, we talk about how a strategic plan becomes a playbook for a business. Can you explain how you developed this and then you used it in your business?
Well, that's an interesting story. When I was in the wholesale wine and liquor business at a seminar, they had a strategic planner. Now, this is like 30 years ago when no one knew what strategic planning was all about. And I fell in love with this thought about planning for 3 years. And at that time, the wholesale company was over 20-fold. And so I came back and told my dad we should do strategic planning. And he said, no, we don't need that. And I said, yes, we do. And so we started a path of strategic planning. And then when I bought the Republic of Tea, the company was 22 months old at the time. And I decided that we'd start with strategic planning. We used the same planner. And when I sat down with her, I said, well, let's plan out, 3 years. She says, Ron, you're a startup. You're new. We're going to plan out 6 months. From 6 months, we'll get to 12 months. In 12 months, we'll get to 18 months. And then we'll think about doing a 3-year plan. But it's a roadmap. We have it at the Republic of Tea. Our son does it now. We have it at the winery. It's really your playbook. I would highly recommend any kind of strategic planning. But if
I,
you're a startup, try 6 months.
I love that. I mean, as business owners, we all want the big ending goals, all of these things. But for me, at least, things change when you look at things in small pieces to get to that big goal. You don't get as overwhelmed, as flustered as a lot of things in a new business will. But to overcome those nervous feelings, to gain knowledge in areas we don't have, something you advocate for is being a big reader. You've got these goals for your books, 52 books per year, plus newspapers, plus magazines. What drives your belief that reading fosters personal and business success?
One of the big drivers is I think your competition is doing their reading. And so I think if, it's a very competitive world today out there, and I'm sure your competitor's doing his reading or her reading. And so you want to keep up with the latest and all the news. And that's your role as founder or owner or whatever, your key role, leadership role is. And so I never received an MBA degree like you did. I always felt, well, I need an MBA degree. And But the reading for me and reading these stories about other entrepreneurs and leaders, different businesses, was my learning. It was my MBA degree.
I love it. And I'm a career learner. If it were free, I'd be in school, but there's nothing that replaces that first-hand experience. You can be prepared, but going through all these things, the lessons that you courageously share, a lot of people are going to find themselves in those situations, right? Everyone, you're not alone. You have a story to share. You are not on this journey alone in entrepreneurship. You are very isolated, but through efforts like Ron makes with his business, with his book here, again, it's called Gold in Your Backyard, Lessons in Life, Leadership, and the Power of a Dream. We'll find out exactly where to find that, but I have a feeling it's also on Amazon. But before we let you go, Ron, I got a few more things I want to bring up here because you've accomplished so much. And with mentoring, we discussed, we're also talking about advisory boards with you and the importance of them. Something that was a game changer for me was forming this board where I have this advice that helps me navigate the way. Can we please talk about how you would recommend creating one and the benefits you feel they bring?
Well, first of all, the experience for me started with I was fortunate enough to be in an organization called Young Presidents Organization, YPO. And then I aged out of YPO. But in YPO, we had what was called a forum, which was a group of members, that 8 to 10 members that you would meet once a month and share leadership and share stories. And they were all presidents of different companies. And so that really helped me. And so when I left YPO, I needed something similar. And that's when I studied about forming an advisory board. And I think one of the most important things that I learned about forming an advisory board was the fact, don't find a member that they all do manufacturing. If you want manufacturing, find one. If you want someone in accounting, find one. If you want someone in public relations, marketing, find one. If you want someone in e-commerce, find one. And so try to find a board, an advisory board membership that has different talents and skills and want to be on your advisory board. How do you get advisory board members? You take them out to lunch, you sit down and you talk about the Jets and see if you like football and they like football, and away you go. And you just see if you have a little connection there, one on one. A few people I didn't have connections with, so I didn't ask them to be on the board. I did. It worked out fantastic.
I love that because you have to be able to see eye to eye in at least some ways before you spend this time with them. But everyone is a huge game changer. You're having successful people in the community. Like you touched on, you don't want 5 attorneys or 5 something. I am very grateful to have an amazing board and they all specialize in a little bit of a different area that can help me succeed. Carlos, Shane, Rod, Trent, Brent, right? We've got a lot of superstars on my team, and I'm grateful to have them in my corner where what sounds good to me may not sound good to you, may not sound good to anyone else, right? So you have to learn that what you're doing in business is more than what you think sounds and looks okay. They'll help you navigate the storm. But Ron, before I let you go, before I get your contact info for the book and everything in between, if you could choose one entrepreneur who is dead or alive that you love to sit down with, talk, you're smiling, so I think you've heard the show before, who would you choose to pick their brain?
That's easy for me. Tom Peters.
Let's talk about it.
I started with Tom Peters, reading his book In Search of Excellence. I've followed him through his, I think, 23 other books. I've gone to seminars to listen to him speak. He was really about excellence. He was about customer focus. He was about women, about presentations, graphics, marketing. And, he worked with so many Fortune 500 companies that I would just love to pick his brain and spend some time with him. And he's just a dynamite person.
Let's delve deeper. Where would you want to meet Mr. Peters?
I'd go out to Boston. He lives out there, or in Virginia. I think he's in Virginia. So wherever his home is, I'd make the effort to go see him.
I like that because I feel people are more comfortable in their home base or their home area. And everyone, we got a lot of gold today, but be sure to check out Gold in Your Backyard. Ron, Rubin, thank you so much for joining our community here on That Entrepreneur Show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and helping keep the show a top 2.5% global series. Ron, where can our listeners get involved, find more about you, find more about the book?
Well, it's easy. GoldinYourBackyard.com. And if you want to contact me, it's just Ron, RON, at goldinYourBackyard.com.
I appreciate that. Everyone, be sure to go check out all the value he has today. Ron, congratulations on all your success. This new book is nice to put out in the world. I know I've been there, and that release just feels like a big weight off your shoulders. I look forward to keeping in touch now that we are connected. Everyone, again, thank you for tuning in to That Entrepreneur Show. Remember to subscribe to stay current with our amazing community of rock stars that join this show. We have a lot to learn today, and you can learn more on his website and in that book, Gold in Your Backyard. And with that, we're signing off today across the country, but starting our day in a great way. Ron, thank you so much.
Thank you.